All right, welcome back. Jessica Muroff, am I saying that correctly, by the way?
Muroff, yes.
Muroff is the Chief Executive Officer for United Way Suncoast, one of Florida's largest United Ways. Jessica ensures connections are made that cultivate growth, increase community impact, and optimize delivery of the organization's strategic priorities that fight for the education and financial stability of every person in the community through educational programs that give children the skills to succeed, helping adults achieve long-term financial stability, and activating caring individuals through volunteerism. Prior to joining United Way Suncoast in 2019, Jessica was the CEO for Girl Scouts of West Central Florida. She began her nonprofit career at Frameworks of Tampa Bay Incorporated, where she served as CEO for 2 years and was previously the organization's Director of Marketing and Communications. Prior to working in the nonprofit sector, Jessica was manager of account services at Raymond James Financial Incorporated, Director of Marketing at Saks Fifth Avenue, and account executive at Roberts Communications. So we're definitely excited to welcome Jessica today. And in her presentation, Jessica will discuss how her agency collaborates and supports local agencies to solve problems for our communities. So with that said, Jessica, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. It's really wonderful to be with you all today. I'm going to share my screen because you don't want to be looking at my face the entire time. But I'm thrilled to be talking about how we change lives in the community and how we do this together. And I think that this message and this overview is more important than ever, given everything that we are experiencing right now. But before I do that, I wanted to share briefly about my background. I didn't start in the nonprofit sector. And I think this is important to share because many times I think, leaders in the community want to get involved. They want to do things. And many times perhaps don't even realize that they can make a career out of community impact and engagement. And so I'm thrilled to be able to do this. And my career has certainly evolved and has deepened in that commitment to community. I started in the for-profit sector with roles in marketing predominantly, and really enjoyed that. I had a kind of a moment when my children were little of I really wanted, if I was going to choose to be away from them every day, all day, that I wanted to have my career have some meaning and impact in the community. So I made the very idealistic decision to transition to the nonprofit sector, thinking that not only would I be having an impact, but I also would have perhaps more time to spend with my children, better work-life balance. Well, that is really not about the job. That's about the person and the way that we manage our time, because I can tell you that working in the nonprofit space and sector is definitely as demanding, if not more so, than working in the for-profit sector. And now in my role as CEO at United Way Suncoast, I have been able to transition into not only working for one of our country's oldest and just most impactful nonprofits, but also a funder in this region and here in West Central Florida, and everything that we're able to do. So how I did this and the journey that I went on was, really core things that are important to me as a leader. Number one is input. I really love to make sure that I am understanding what's happening in my community, how am I, learning from others, what their lived and life experiences are all about, and being able to make a positive impact on that. I also love to innovate and thinking about the future. And so I really, really for me, being able to take my corporate experience and background and bring it to the nonprofit sector has been just an absolute joy. And being able to implement very, innovative business practices, and I'm going to share a few with you today, to be able to elevate our work is just very exciting. Impact is everything to me. I really want to know that what I'm doing, what my team is doing, how we're impacting our community, it stays at the forefront of everything that we do. So looking at our data, evaluating our services, understanding the impact that we have is critical to my role and our roles. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is inspiring. This work in the social sector cannot be done just in silos, and we can't do it alone. We have to bring our community together with us. And so one of the things that I focus on daily is how am I personally inspiring others to also want to give and participate, and how is our organization inspiring our community to want to invest in their fellow man and helping to elevate all within our communities. Because this is really, at the end of the day, this is what's going to improve our communities and our world. So what we have been experiencing this past year, though, is an insane amount of change, right? I mean, none of us could have ever predicted, well, you know, yes, the pandemic and when it was going to happen, but and the experience that we would have from that and the amount of change that we have experienced in the last year in response to that. And I love this quote about, it's not the strongest of species that survived or the most intelligent, it's the ones that are most responsive to change. And that is you know, something that we really need to think about as leaders in our organizations, is how are we responding to change in the most agile and proactive ways possible? Because if there is one constant in life, it is change. And for me, change means opportunity. It means, what are the things that we have in front of us that we can respond to this change, to elevate our work, to deepen our work, to support even more people, but always looking at, yes, there is hardship when it comes to change many times, but what opportunities can we pull from that? And organizations don't change, people do. People is what is driving our organizations to change. It's their decisions, it's people's strategies, it's people's influence, it's people's approach and their work that is creating change. And so it's really important to recognize that when we are working through change, how are we doing that? Standing alongside others. So I'm sure you all have felt this within the last year, right? I don't know about you, but I mean, I am a year and a half into this role at United Way Suncoast. 3 months into me stepping in, we get hit with you know, the pandemic and quarantine, and how are we going to respond? And so this past year has felt a lot like I'm changing the tires on a car while driving, and that we were trying to keep our annual services and things that we do to, you know, to use an overused term, pivot, but to respond to what was happening in our community and support so many of our community members, and the work that we do annually, regardless, you know, just, you know, without a pandemic, while also responding to the challenges that the pandemic was bringing to so many in our community. And so that was a lot of weight and a lot of pressure on everyone in our organization, especially those who are serving so many in the community who are struggling right now. But I can assure you that I'm sure a lot of you feel this way. And what we have experienced in this past year is just the pressure of everything that's going on, the change, maybe, you know, working from home, managing kids in school and work, and just, you know, all of it has felt like a lot of weight on our shoulders. And as we're emerging from this, how are we going to optimize what we have learned and how we have operated to make more permanent changes to our approaches? And that's exactly what we've been working on at United Way Suncoast. And we know that regardless of whatever we are experiencing in our worlds right now, especially when it comes to really hard things, together we are greater than any challenge. And that is one thing, you know, at United Way, you know, our mantra is that we live united. We don't ever do anything just by ourselves. We always do it in partnership with others. And so it's this togetherness that really is what advances our work. So we have 3 focus areas as an organization. And I'm going to just briefly review these and share these and how the work is done, because that's more important than just what we do. But our early learning, this is you know, the future of education is incredibly important to us. We know that one of the most important impacts that we can have on a human being in their life is to invest in their education and their development as early as possible. And so investing in programs and supports in early learning reaps the biggest benefits long-term for our community and for the development of human potential. So we invest in programs that help children succeed in school by ensuring that they are reading on grade level by the end of third grade. That's one of the most important benchmarks that we look at. We look at a whole host of other indicators, through that time frame, but this is critically important in ensuring that our children and our kids grow up to be successful in life. The next is financial stability. This is more of a downstream strategy when we look at supporting families. We lead and participate in programs that help low-income individuals and families. It's really about eliminating barriers and helping them to obtain and retain employment that builds a more financially stable future. And it's not just even about employment either. What programs and services can help them have a strong and solid financial framework from which they can live their lives. And so this is really important because if we have that, if we can build that in a family, then we're also helping them be more successful in their early learning as well. We know that all these different pieces are impacting one another. And then last but certainly not least is youth success. One of our programs that we have that is the most successful, and in fact, it boasts 100% success rate, is our Operation Graduate. And this focuses on students who are in the academic middle, those who aren't failing, but may be, teetering on the edge of falling off track and perhaps not graduating from high school or not graduating on time or having challenges and maybe don't have the support system or the motivation to really dig in and do well. And so this highly focused mentoring program helps them to graduate on time and prepares them for whatever that post-secondary options are, whether that be college or career. We help them with all of that. So as an organization, our vision in those three areas, right? And that, because that's the how we do the work, that's the what work we do, but we want to create a community that is united and creating better opportunities for all. And our mission is to improve lives and create lasting community change with that togetherness. It's about mobilizing and the caring people of our communities to give, advocate, and volunteer. And we really fight for the education and financial stability of every person in the communities that we serve. And as an organization, we really lean on our values of integrity, stewardship, making sure that we are utilizing our resources in the best way possible, diversity, equity, and inclusion, because we know that equity and ensuring that we are serving all and respecting all and understanding the perspectives and lived experience of all is what's going to help elevate our work. Innovation, being responsive and agile and creative and adaptable in our approaches to making sure that we are really deepening and elevating our impact. And then last but certainly not least is collaboration. We don't do this again alone. We always do this together with others. So when we talk about early learning, I just wanted to share just briefly, kind of the how and that we do this. And that we have so many programs. And much of what we do is investing in organizations who are already leading in this effort. That is what United Way does. We don't reinvent the wheel. We know and we partner with other nonprofits, our strategic community partners, to deliver on this important investment, because we know that they are the best of the best out there in ensuring that we're moving the needle in these areas. And we invest in these partnerships and bringing organizations together so that we can improve early literacy across our 5 counties that we serve. So we have a whole host of programs investing in partnerships, as well as summer care. So preventing the summer, learning slide, and supporting our students across our region. And so this is Janaya and the impact that our summer care program had on her. By the end of the summer, and again, it's a very fun and interactive hands-on experience. But by the end of the summer, she went from reading on a 2nd grade reading passage with a 96% accuracy at 48 words per minute to reading on a 4th grade reading passage with 98% accuracy, and at 129 words per minute. These programs make an impact, and her ability to be able to improve her reading ability is going to help improve her future learning as she continues to grow in school during the year. So, you know, not only does it help her avoid educational losses over the summer, but it puts her already on a successful track to being successful during the school year. So what does this mean for our region? And kind of taking a look at the data, we partner with the Tampa Bay Partnership on a state of the region, a regional competitiveness report. And we do. I mean, you would think like, so you're saying, well, this is a business report. It's about how the state of our region, how we're faring. Third grade reading is one of those really key things that we take a look at. And how are we doing across the counties that we're serving? And we're not doing so hot. We could be doing better. And especially, and this is what this graph points out here, is that the success of students in our region is not just the same regardless of your race or ethnicity. There are marked differences in this, and this is why our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts and the way that we address this work is so important, because you can see the difference here between our white students and our Black students when it comes to reading on grade level by third grade. There's a lot of work that we need to be doing here in the future. So when we talk about youth success, and I mentioned Operation and Graduate and the 100% success rate, this is a very focused program. So a lot of one-on-one, it's a mentoring program where we are really working closely with these students to help them be successful. And this is Miguel. He was the first student to join this program, and he stayed through until graduation. He's now the first person in his family to graduate high school and attend college. And he is just excelling. And you can see his quote there: Operation Graduate helped him understand what he could accomplish with a high school and a college degree. We are so very proud of him. But it really is investing in our high school students so that they are graduating from high school on time, and then looking towards the future of whatever that future may be for them and supporting those efforts. So taking a look again, going back to that regional competitiveness report, right? Our data, that's what we want to look at. Tampa Bay has the largest share of opportunity youth among the Florida markets. These are those youth that I was talking about that, that may be teetering on the edge, that are struggling in school and maybe feeling a little bit lost. This is really a huge need for us to continue to focus on supporting these students so that we can get them to graduate, help them graduate from high school and seek those post-secondary opportunities. And then finally, financial literacy, because we know that we can't, all of these three focus areas, as you can see, are so intertwined and supportive of one another. So, you know, in a family structure, it's really important to have a solid financial framework to support the family. And when there are challenges or issues there, that affects, you know, the entire family and their ability to be successful in other areas of their lives. So this is, there's a lot of programs that we do here, you know, beyond employment, is also making sure that we have accessible and equitable banking products available to members of our community. We have a Vita program, which is our volunteer income tax assistance program, helping families file for their taxes and get the refund, the returns that they are entitled to. And so that's a huge effort that's going on right now. But this is an example of a man who, you know, made some not great choices in his life, but had invested the time in overcoming that, and really wanted that second chance of being able to take, to have, for his life. And so, but he didn't have access to a checking account and no safe and affordable way to pay for his bills or have easy access to cash. And for many of us, we take that for granted. We think, oh, it's super easy to open up a checking account and get the access that I need. But for many, it can be a major stumbling block to getting back on your feet. And so Bank on Suncoast is is one of our programs that help to ensure access to safe and affordable banking accounts for all. And so really having those products and resources that help elevate the stability, the financial stability of our families is critically important, especially in our region. So why does all of this matter? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about data and who we are serving within our region and who needs our support the most. And ALICE is a study that we do every 2 years, and it's an acronym that stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. These are households that are earning above the federal poverty line, but not enough to cover the most basic needs like food and housing. I know these numbers are going to seem quite overwhelming, but 43% of the households in our region struggle to pay for basic needs such as housing, childcare, transportation, healthcare, and technology. 46% of households across the state of Florida face those same financial challenges. And if you want to learn more, you can go to walkwithalice.com to learn more. But what does this mean? So ALICE are those families who are living, and you can see on this this graph here, the gray dotted line is the federal poverty line. And so, but there are families who make more, you know, so they earn above the federal poverty line. But when you pull together a bare minimum budget for our state and for our region, you can see all of the things that are listed here of what's included in that survival budget, you know, taxes, technology. When we're talking technology, we're talking a basic cell phone plan, healthcare, transportation, food, childcare, housing. Housing is one of the most cost burden things that a family can experience in Florida, especially. But you can see how many families are working, and they're working really hard, but they're not making enough to make basic ends meet. And this is why this ALICE data is so important. So ALICE in Florida, you know, unfortunately, and we've been tracking this data for more than 10 years, and the number of ALICE families continues to grow. You can see the blue here where the federal poverty line, you know, that has hovered around 13% in the last decade, and ALICE has increased from 33% to 46% in the last decade. So, you know, and I will state too, as you can see from the dates here, our ALICE data is from 2018. So this is pre-pandemic. So many times when we talk about our ALICE families within our region and those households who were struggling, we talked about they were one car accident, one medical issue away from being thrown off course financially. Well, the pandemic was the tsunami that hit them all. So we know that these numbers no longer hold true. And many of those families who might have been teetering on the edge of that ALICE threshold were definitely put into that. And this is also not a one size fits all scenario. There are some groups that are more likely to be within that ALICE threshold: Hispanic, Black, under 25 years old, or a single female headed with children, household with children, compared to, so you can see the percentages here below and above the ALICE threshold. And then you compare that to all households. You can definitely see that some groups face greater challenges than all. And so why does this matter, and why does United Way invest in this? Because again, we know that removing those barriers to financial stability and success are critically important for the health and wellness of a family, and health and wellness and education of children. And we know that if we, you know, it's kind of like a rising tide lifts all boats. If we help our families to earn more, to get the benefits and services that they need to help them rise above and grow out of that ALICE threshold, they have more disposable income, they have more earnings that they can reinvest back in the community. They can afford their healthcare, and their well-being. So there's great impacts on when it comes to the cost of healthcare and reduction in crime, So there's a lot of really awesome benefits for our community when we invest in the financial stability and success of others. So 2020 key takeaways, and I know that we are a few months into 2021, but again, over a decade of tracking this data, not many people who were able to break through the ALICE threshold. And systematic inequity continues to be something that is not solved and something that we need to address. And of course, as I just mentioned, some of those very specific groups have more individuals that fall within the ALICE threshold than when you look at the bigger picture. And of course, the global pandemic and the economic impacts have definitely shined a huge spotlight on how vulnerable many families were and were before the pandemic and continue to be as we are emerging through the pandemic. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, which is why we focus on this. And why one of our focuses is on equity. In our United Way specifically, we have a strong commitment to social justice and equity. Annually, we spend and invest approximately $4 million in this area. We believe that every person is entitled to be treated with dignity and respect, and that includes equal treatment and access to justice. So the areas that we are committed to in this is, workforce development, asset development, that strong financial stability system around individuals and families, our youth success programs, which help them to have those great jobs when they complete high school and get good jobs. We have neighborhood centers. So we have specific centers within neighborhoods that are supporting the families and individuals in that neighborhood. So it's a one-stop shop for them. They can come into the center and get the support that they need from a whole host of partners. They don't have to go to this area, this location, and that location. In these neighborhoods, we have that dedicated resource for them. And then of course, legal services for any type of experience that they may be having to help them through that and the cost and the burden associated with that. So COVID really, and as I mentioned before, was really something that we had to respond very quickly to. I mean, I remember, gosh, just over a year ago, within a day, we made a decision to take our workforce and make them, be entirely remote, to pivot our programs to be virtual and digital. And it was a very difficult time. At that same time, we launched our COVID-19 Response and Recovery Fund and raised nearly $2 million in a matter of weeks. And it had established a rapid response grant process to get those funds back out into the community as quickly as possible, because we knew that our nonprofit partners needed us because they were serving families of great need throughout our community. Because of the economic impacts of the pandemic. 100% of the funds that we raised for this went directly back out to helping those in need in our community. And as you can see from the percentages here, some of the biggest things that we supported was food instability. So making sure that our families had access to food. In fact, we are still doing weekly food distributions at our neighborhood centers to support families, because we're still reeling from the impacts of this pandemic. Housing and shelter supports, financial stability supports, and helping them, making sure that they can keep up with their bills. Mental health and healthcare supports, as we know, certainly as we have experienced working, from our houses, or maybe experiencing, the financial or the health implications from this past year. People in our community really needed our support. And then also our essential workers, they still had to go to work. And so we provided childcare for our essential workers to ease that burden off their shoulders with our partners. So our United Way, just to give you a scope of our organization, we're about a $16 million annual budget. And this is for this fiscal year. We have the great benefit of getting our revenue largely from donors throughout our region from our corporate partners. And we are incredibly grateful for these partnerships because it enables us to do all of this wonderful work in the community. We also have a major gifts program, and we have donors who really step up to the plate and invest deeply in our programs specifically. We do have a grant program where we apply for and receive grants to do a lot of these services that I've just shared with all of you. and of course, individual gifts from our donors who believe in our mission and support that work. We have some tremendous corporate partners, and we are grateful for their support. I mean, these are companies that I would love to recognize, Publix supermarkets being number one, and just an incredible partner, not only from a support and investment perspective, but also providing leadership to our boards, volunteers in our communities. Raymond James Financial is another one of our most impactful partners. And you can see throughout our entire region, we have we're very, very fortunate to have such great companies that stand shoulder to shoulder with us in supporting our community. Now, innovation when it comes to mobilizing a community to invest and give and want to give not only of their treasure, but of their time and talents as well. We have an innovative platform called Salesforce Philanthropy Cloud. And this is a completely digital, and it's probably the most user-friendly and easy volunteer management and giving platform that I have ever worked with throughout my life. It's so fantastic. This allows companies to raise dollars, not only for United Way Suncoast, but if their employees want to donate to their favorite charity, they can do so through this platform. It also gives them an opportunity to see what volunteer opportunities are in their community that they can sign up for, and they can readily and easily do that through the app. And it keeps track of it both individually and collectively as an organization. And so it's really, and it's mobile friendly. There's all type, it's so easy to use, and it keeps our partners' teams connected to the community and the impact that they are having. So once we have all of these wonderful investments, where does it go in our community? So like I said, we do everything with others and together with others. So our strategic community partners, a huge part of this goes right back out to their initiatives and their work in those three focus areas. Of course, we have a team that is delivering many of these programs, and that is important, as our neighborhood centers, our Bank On program, our Vita program. There's a lot of work that we do to making sure that we are also delivering on those three focus areas. We have our financial stability supports, our neighborhood work, of course, our educational focus areas, and then our fundraising team to make sure that we can continue to raise dollars and the awareness and knowledge across our region. In December of 2020, we received just the most incredible gift and a transformational gift from McKinsey Scott of $20 million for our region, unrestricted gift to invest within our 5 counties. We are going through a strategic planning process right now that's wrapping up in a matter of weeks and creating a very intentional strategy for how we invest those dollars in our region. But we're going to be very transparent about this and it's going to be highly measurable, a broad and deep approach that is really building a stronger community. So I look forward to sharing more of this, but we are very excited that donors like McKinsey have made transformational gifts to organizations like ours throughout the country to ensuring that we are addressing equity needs and the future of social services throughout our country. Now, I can't do any of this without the support of our team. And so for many of you who perhaps work in organizations, it's really important that you also invest in and build up your teams in order to deliver on your mission. And so this was something that, thinking about our future and how we were going to continue to deliver on our mission, we wanted to make sure that we were strengthening the connection and the connection to our mission of our team. And so we're really focusing internally on our culture. And so at United Way Suncoast, we really want to ensure that our team feels that their individual voices find strength when unified, and that we meet challenges with brilliant collaboration. And I can assure you that our response to COVID-19 was nothing but this. and a really intentional effort met with rewarding fulfillment. And that's something that we want to deliver to our teammates every day. And this is what the power of caring feels like at United Way Suncoast. Our team also gave us feedback to develop our Causeway Code. And these are the core behaviors and principles that we uphold to ensure that we can deliver the best services and support to our community. So how do we demonstrate teamwork and be accountable to one another? We must abide by an open mind and when our work leaves no room for ego. We are open, flexible, honest for the very best ideas. We assume a positive point of view. We assume positivity in actions and decisions. We're present. We want to show up, show and respect to others by showing up and staying engaged and present. And last but certainly not least is acting with courageous determination, approaching our work with courage and determination. That is absolutely necessary, as so many rely on us just for that. And so at United Way Suncoast, what makes you different makes a difference. And we are a diverse team of change makers. We are varied in our experience, talents, approach, and we welcome what each of us brings to the table, the space to be your authentic self, contribute your unique talents, and that's how impact follows. And that's where different makes the difference at United Way Suncoast. We also wanted to make sure how we were communicating about ourselves was reflective of the work that we were doing in the community and inspiring others to want to be a part of this, which is why we did a complete brand refresh as well. And so, and the very essence of this, and you can read this in the first sentence, and I'm sorry that this is an eye chart, but we believe that it is the fundamental right, a requirement for healthy growth, and the most honorable cause for our steadfast commitment. The essence of United Way Suncoast is the freedom to rise. United Way Suncoast severs the constraints that prevents families from thriving. And how we do this is we believe and invest and uplift the power of unity. Again, it's that together that we are bigger than any challenge. We know that convening and inspiring and drawing people in to become the champion of others and uplifting others is a really powerful thing. Impact of scale, our reach and our experience. We have been in this community, this region for nearly 100 years and nearly a century of doing this wonderful work. We understand the impact of that scale. And so we want to make sure that we are utilizing those connections and that convener role in the best way possible. And then of course, the strength of our history. I mentioned being almost a century old here in our region. There's a lot of things that we have learned over the decades that contributes to how we can deepen our impact for our community together. So at the end of the day, we never stop advocating for our community. Through our partnerships and expertise, we create bold strategies to our biggest challenges, uplifting lives and achieving equity for generations to come. And this is where we are looking at that forward-thinking approach and wanting to bring our communities together and solving community problems and doing it collaboratively and collectively. So I know I have just a few minutes left, but how many? So through our COVID, so I'm answer questions. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Thank you, Holly. We support, through COVID, we supported 75 agencies, and through our annual investment process, we have 79 partners and invest in 90 something programs through those partners. So the scope of what we do is quite large across our region. Does anybody else have any questions?
Jessica, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation and inspiring us about being able to help serve those in need. I want to make sure that if you're tuning in, feel free to say hello in the chat or type a question to Jessica, and I'm sure she's happy to answer them as she's here with us today. And in the meantime, while you're thinking of your questions, to type in the chat. We had another question and wondering how agencies can go about partnering with you.
So we have many ways. If you go to our website, uwsuncoast.org, we have our annual investment process outlined there. We actually are at this very moment approving all of the recommendations that will be funded for this upcoming fiscal year, which starts on July 1. We have a funding process that nonprofit agencies can apply for. But we also partner in many other ways in elevating and sharing stories, programs, initiatives. So if you have an idea for a partnership, we want to hear about it. We want to connect to our community, especially if your work is within those three focus areas of early learning, financial stability, and youth success.
Love it. All right, let's see. Yeah. So once again, for those new people who are coming in, if you have any questions or inquiries you want to ask Jessica, now's your chance. And in the meantime, Jessica, I'm curious, where do you see the organization going in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what do you see as the future for it?
So one of the things, as I mentioned, that we were just wrapping up a strategic plan. And so a couple of things that I see coming in the future is we're deepening our impact and work in our three focus areas. We are ensuring that everything that we do is through an equity lens. So what ways are we ensuring that we are advancing equity throughout our region and supporting all families, and especially those who might be experiencing deeper and bigger barriers than most. We're also looking at, because we know that the nonprofit sector is quite big and sometimes siloed, and so perhaps also lacks the support or the resources from a capacity building perspective. So what are the ways that we can support our partners so that they can continue to do the great work that they're doing in the community, and that we can support to ensure that they are strong and healthy, they stay and remain strong and healthy organizations. And then we need to do even more with our data. So we have a lot of great data. How are we sharing this with our partners? How are we sharing this with the community so that we can continue to advance the impact and understanding of the needs? So those are just a few things.
Yeah. And how many people are currently on the board you're on?
So from a staff perspective, we have 62. We have board-wise, we have 4 boards because we serve a region. We have a regional board as well as 3 area boards. And in total, I think we have 50-ish board members across the region.
Wow, that is so exciting to hear about the growth of things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to make sure you can say everything you wanted to say. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about that you haven't got a chance to talk about yet?
So the question is how we work with national. So we are a part of a national network of United Way Worldwide. And United Way Worldwide is an organization was founded over 100 years ago, actually in Colorado. We are a network partner. So we are a local United Way. So we have, we pay dues to our national organization to provide support and services. So like Philanthropy Cloud, that's a resource that is provided by our national partnership and that we're grateful for. But we collaborate deeply with them, from data sharing, best practice sharing, programs and initiatives, things that they do to help elevate our brand. So there's a lot of benefits that we get from being a part of a national network, being able to share the good work that's happening across our nation. So there's a United Way in every community so if you want to get involved, definitely our volunteer opportunities are endless, truly.